good people, welcome back. I am so happy you're here. This video is an exciting one. I was hoping to film this video in a more ideal scenery and all of that, but I had a really long day and I have to film it to stay on schedule because people are expecting it. So I'm doing it at the end of the day. My lighting is not the greatest, so I hope it's okay. If you're new here, I relocated to Ghana about a year ago, went back to the US to pick up my daughter, brought her back to Ghana 6 months ago. And this video is about my experience overall in Ghana and kind of like a 1 year update. So I had people send me questions on social media, in my email, and I have a lot of questions. I don't know if we're going to be able to go through every one of them because I think I'm a talker, so I'm going to talk a lot. I'm going to try not to talk a lot so I can get through them all. It's going to be a long video, brace yourself, but it's going to be a really good one because I'm going to share with you some first-hand insight experience with you on my living here in Ghana and my transition to Africa overall. So I don't want to waste any time because we have a lot to get through, so I'm just going to get through straight to the questions and answer them as we go. But the first question I have on here is, and I'm not going to be calling the names of those who asked the questions. I'm just going to read the question out. It says, why did I relocate? So this question is not specific to why did I relocate to Ghana. I think it's a general one. So why did I decide to leave the US overall? Or why did I relocate to Africa overall? I would say for the obvious reason, Africa is the mother continent and that's where I'm from. So even if I'm not in my home country at the moment, it still feels good to be back on the continent. And especially after living in the US for almost 20 years, it was about time. And I know people might say, oh, but you're still young, because most times people think when you're moving to Africa, you're supposed to be close to retirement. It's kind of like your retirement ordeal, you know? But more and more, we're seeing a lot of young people that are moving back to the continent because of this reason. We want to create impact. We want to create massive impact than what we are creating or we were creating back in the US. I think I was at a place where I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over. And sometimes you don't see the impact of your work right away. And you know you were made for something bigger and you are capable of doing so much more, but you're boxed in. Job descriptions in the US boxes you in. And until you get to that point of realizing that, you're going to be stuck in the US. And I had a couple of mentors. When I got to that point and I met with my mentors and told them that I was planning this big relocation and I wanted to create more impact because I felt like I could do more, they were like, we always knew that. We were just waiting for the moment you would take the leap, you know? So for me personally, that was more of it. Feeling of fulfillment. It was that feeling of giving back and giving back to my own people and giving back to those who need it the most. That was why I decided to relocate. If I relocated sooner than I hope, maybe a few years sooner, but then my husband was kind of like completely done. So then once we put things in place, we were like, why not move sooner than I wanted to move out. So yeah, that's why I relocated. Massive impact, and stay tuned. I'm working on those things. You're gonna hear some. So next question is, how is my mental health through the transition? It has gotten a lot better. it was really horrible, the beginning of the whole move and trip. Like, and I think I made a video talking about that, how it was just so much being thrown at me. I felt like I was outside my element. I was outside of routine. And my father told me this before. He said, when we were in the planning process of moving to Africa, he said, Marian, you're so systematic that you're gonna have it, like, it's gonna be difficult for you living in Africa. He told me that, but I didn't understand what he meant by that, you know? I really did not get what he was trying to say. In my mind, I was like, I'm tough, you know, I can take on anything. And then I got here and I was like, nothing is in order. It's like there is no straight pathway in Africa. And this is not just Liberia, it's everywhere. Ghana, Liberia, is just an Africa thing. You don't feel like there are systems, you know? And experiencing that in Liberia first kind of just blew the tops off my head. Like, I was just like, what? I can't get anything done. I feel like everything is being thrown at me at once. And that was really hard on my mental health. But I've recovered and I feel much better about where I am. I've been taking things slowly and I'm transitioning mentally. And I think I'm at a really good place. I'm at such a good place that I don't miss the US at all, to be honest. So yeah, and that's something to keep in mind. Mental health is key, especially, I think, and it kind of depends on like your personality and the way you are wired. It's not so much about the external factors. I know a lot of people got angry when I tried to point out some of the things that happened in Liberia that really stressed me out, but they are normal. Like, they happen to everyone. But what determines your experience with them and the degree of the experience that you have is how you're wired. There's some people who are laid back. Like, Kiki is laid back, if you guys know that from videos. My husband is laid back. So they process things a little better. They're easy on things a lot more than I am. I panic about everything. I want things done a certain way. Like, I have this sense of control. I like to have this sense of control. And if you're put in a place where you can't do that, it's almost like you're rewiring yourself. And I think that's what happened. And it comes with immense stress. And that was what was happening. So it's not that I can't make it in Liberia or anything. It's just that it's a process and you have to be open and willing to go through it. And I'm being open with my process. So I hope you can keep an open mind as well. Let's move on to the next question, because there are lots. So somebody said, what are things you need to save for before moving? I would say, from the experience that we had, so let's say the plan that we had when it came to moving, it didn't all pan out the way we hoped it would. And things happen, you know, like you would be planning to move, set a date, and boom, all the things that you've planned to kind of gather resources and stuff just ain't working the way you hope it would. And for some people, you might extend your stay because you kind of want to make sure you have those things. But for us, we didn't want to extend it anymore. We were like, you know what? If you keep pushing the date, things are never going to fall in place. Let's be honest. So let's just go, and whatever happens, happens. We're gonna make it work, and God is with us. So we kind of just came. So I would say major things that you need to save for: housing. Housing is key. And in Africa is a lump sum. You pay for like 6 months to a year, some places 2 years, depending on the amount of the place. So the cheaper the place is, the more term they will ask for, down payment, and the more expensive you can get it for, like 6 months, or there are some places even month to month, but it's really hard to find. So you want to save for your lump sum for a year. Another thing to keep in mind is 1 year goes by pretty quickly, so you want to make sure you have some form of income stream to come up with another 1 year rent. because by the time you run out, that's a big chunk of money that you need to come up with for the second year that is hard to raise now that you're not in the US or in the UK. So if you don't have an income stream established, then you might want to save for 2 years just to give you some safety net with the transition process and all of that, and then go for somewhere cheaper so that you have more bucks for your money. Okay, so housing, another thing I would say, get yourself a car. I know sometimes people move to countries where you're kind of just testing things out, like you don't know yet if you're gonna be there. So you don't want to ship a car there, and then when you're leaving, then you're stuck with it. So, and then especially if those countries have like public transportations and Uber and stuff, it makes it easy, which is the case of Ghana. And I appreciate the Uber, great, but I would have like saved enough to get a car. And getting a car is not like in the US where we go to a dealer and we give our information and they give us a car, we can drive off the lot and just put $2,000 down. That's not how it works in Africa. You have to come up with that lump sum. If you go somewhere and they tell you $10,000 for the car, you have to count $10,000 cash and put it down. So it's a big chunk to come up with. Make sure you have that vehicle money. It's going to help you a lot. Public transportation can add up, especially if you're doing Uber here and there. Daily is gonna add up, or even weekly it adds up. Okay, so I would say your housing and a car, your monthly expenses. Once you have an income stream, it makes it easy to keep up with those, and they're not so expensive. So it's just a lump sum, I would say, save for it and have a really good plan with your recurring expenses. So somebody asked, this one is a big one. I swear I had to even ask for help on it because I was like, she's trying to kill me. 3 wishes. What are 3 wishes that, if I had 3 wishes to improve Ghana and Liberia, what would those be? So for Ghana, I do not have 3 things down because I couldn't come up with 3. And I like to be thoughtful. I like to be able to provide information that's really what it is, and give you some background information and stuff. And I couldn't come up with the 3 because I'm not inserted into the system yet, into the society yet. So I don't have an idea of what some of the issues are. And some of the things that I have experienced, they're trivia. Like, they're little things that I don't think they would make much of a difference when it comes to improving Ghana as a whole. So I didn't want to put those down. I had planned to ask a Ghanaian to see what they think, because they always have things to say about how the country should be improved, but I didn't have the time to have that conversation with them. But I talked to Rich, and what I have written down is actually from his words and his point of view, and it actually made a lot of sense. So the biggest one would be making the business requirements in Ghana flexible and a little bit more lenient, less demanding for those who are relocating, for those who will want to invest in the country. The requirements are pretty high for foreigners. You have to have like $300,000 in the bank account and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it makes it hard. Now, if you guys know, I did a video quite recently about job availability in Ghana and the rate of unemployment here in Ghana currently. And with so many people not working, it would make sense to create more jobs. But who are the ones creating the jobs? Ghanaians. The Ghanaians themselves are not creating as many jobs as you would hope that they would, because of capital. Capital is huge. So it is those people who are coming from abroad that are coming with huge capital to create jobs and start businesses. But they're not like big investment companies, right? So they're the middle class like us who have some money to start a business, but requirements may hinder you in some way, and it filters a lot of people out. The requirement filters out a lot of people, and it leaves the big companies, leave it up to the big companies to kind of do investment. Um, and that makes it, if you're not getting those big investments as often, then you have a lot of people without jobs, and people who should be starting businesses and employing Ghanaians are not able to because of the requirements. So make it a little bit more less demanding. That's one thing. The second thing for Ghana, I mean, this one, it may not be so important to a lot of people, but it's important to me, especially as a public health official. I would say reduce the CO2 emission and pollution. Pollution is a serious issue all over Africa as a whole, and we have no idea the effect it has on the citizens' health. So I would say, and it's really bad here in Ghana, and I think because Ghana has become so industrialized, there are lots of people, there are lots more cars everywhere, and I mean, it's just really polluted. You can smell the pollution in the breath you take, you know. And it makes sense now. People are preferring outside of the city rather than in the city. And we experience the same thing in Liberia as well. So I would say put some policies in place to reduce pollution, because it has an adverse effect on the health of your citizens, especially in a place where people can afford healthcare. So those are the two things I have for Ghana. For Liberia, I had to really think about it to come up with my top three, because there are lots of things I could talk about, but this is my honest insight and how I think Liberia could be better if I had those wishes to make. Number one, I would say roads. And why roads? Roads have one, two, three. So there are four major things that roads affect once they're in place, once they become developed. Number one, agriculture. Liberia is not producing the food they eat. We're importing the food we eat. Even to the least things we're importing, which is not good for the economy. People who are doing agriculture, they're not able to do agriculture on a larger scale because they're disconnected from the city. We don't have roads to bring goods down to the city and vice versa. So trade is hindered in Liberia, and that is causing the economy to be really terrible, because we have to import everything we bring in to eat. The cost for those things are higher, and people don't have jobs to afford those things, so the poverty rate becomes really high. If we had roads, we would have more people doing agriculture, goods would be easily moved from region to region, and the cost of food will go down, the importation would go down. In fact, we'll even start to export, and that would be good for the economy. Roads also lead to infrastructure development. It's not the government that's going to develop Liberia, it's we the citizens that are going to develop Liberia, but there are some basic things that we require to be in place for us to make those developments happen. And one thing is roads. Like, you don't expect someone to go build a resort in Lofa County right now, beautiful mountain area, and there is no road to get there. Like, how do you expect customers or tourists to go there? You can't get there. So that investment would be put on pause until those roads are done. And you can't expect an individual to go and build road to take them to a county, you know, it's just not realistic. So there are things the government has to put in place to make it easy for the citizens to develop the country. And I think road is one of that. So infrastructure development. Um, and one example is the Marshall Road. Now that there is road going all the way down to the beach, you see that entire place has been developed. Like houses are all like development go along with the roads. And another thing, it decentralizes the city. Monrovia is small and heavily populated. It would send people all over the place, and then development will kind of spread around the country. And then another thing is it would invite big investment companies. People cannot come, companies cannot come and invest if they have to worry about getting their goods and stuff from one point of the country to the next. Those basic things have to be put in place for us to attract tourism, for us to attract big investments, and so on. So, number one, I mean, it's hard to prioritize them, but I think that would be key. The second thing that I would use my wish for is electricity. Electricity is so key in the day and age that we live in. We can't go without it. I mean, you can try to manage, but you have no idea the limitations you're going to experience without electricity. One thing that electricity hinders is business opportunity, business expansion, business operation, and all of that. Now, there are people that are actually running their businesses and they have electricity and stuff, but the overhead cost is so expensive because we don't have stable electricity. Many days, people have to use generator, put fuel in it to run their business. And because of that, prices have to go up because the overhead cost is really high. So it just messes everything up even more. And then not just businesses that is hitting hard, it's also our personal lives and our personal homes. Imagine somebody making 1,500 a month to bring home. They have so many other things to take care of, but then electricity cost that is supposed to be bare minimum is costing them so much to keep their home running. They're using a lot of that money in the home to run the home. Therefore, not a lot left to put back into the economy, to spend into the economy, because they have to be worried about those things. So if those little things are put in place, it makes it easy for citizens to spend money outside of the home. And then we won't be enriching just the few people that are in the gas industry, you know. We would be spending money in other areas. And then the third thing that I would say is our school systems in Liberia. We have some good schools in Liberia, but not many, and they differ when it comes to level. So the elementaries are really good. The middle school and high school is a little not stable, and you can still find a few good ones, but the system is weak. And then the university system also needs to be strengthened as well, because if we have good school systems, it's almost like a ripple effect. It affects the population, it affects the workers you're putting out there, it affects the people who are thinking and making decisions for the country, and all of that. So it's key. And if we don't have that fixed, if we don't have that put in place, our younger generation, it's almost like we're just recycling the same old problem. You know, our fathers experienced it, we experienced it. Now our children might go through it because the issues aren't being solved or fixed. And another thing, for people who are in the diaspora to move back home, you have to have strong school systems. You have to have good school systems, because nobody wants to abandon what the quality of education their children are getting abroad, to come back, all in the name of coming back home, just to give them something that may not be recognized outside of Liberia, you know? So it's crucial, and I don't think we see it to be that important. That is one of the major reasons why many people won't move back right now until their kids are all gone off to college, to be honest, because they can't trade that, they can't make that sacrifice. No, they're not going to do it, not at the expense of their child. And even when I told people that we were moving with Kiki, a lot of people were concerned about her as well. They were like, "Oh, why didn't you just wait for her to be done? Why would you take her?" But but Kiki is in online school from the US. Ghana does have good school systems. They're super expensive, especially the private universities, but the public schools are also good and they're free. Up to high school, they're free, which is something we need to do in Liberia because it's so expensive. Imagine someone selling to raise money for elementary school fees and then have to worry about the food and then have to worry about electricity and then have to, like, there's just so much. Instead of paying college tuition, I think we should focus on the younger group that are coming up and give them better opportunity. So those are the three things I would use my wishes for Liberia. I mean, we could have this conversation. There are a lot more things we could have, intelligent conversations, and not be. But I want to be able to go through all of the questions. So someone else asked, have I made a sense of community? I didn't put the question down the way it was written, but have I experienced a sense of community in Ghana? Have I met any Liberians? I would say I'm just now getting to experience that, and it's not with Liberians, it's actually with people from the diaspora. And I think that's the first step in at least getting out, having someone to go and have drink with or have a conversation outside of your husband and stuff. So it's okay, and because we are all from the US or from the UK, it's easy to connect on things, and we may be going through similar experiences that we can talk through. So that has just been put in place, and I'm super excited to make use of it and see how that escalate to the next level. With the Liberian, I have not met a lot of Liberians. Ghana is so big and people are so spread out. Until you start to go out and go to events and stuff or be introduced, it's very difficult to just meet Liberians or go to the Liberian camp. It's very difficult to just meet Liberians. However, I did meet one Liberian sister that's here in Ghana. She came from Tanzania, and she's here now in Ghana. We don't meet all the time, but we check in on each other every now and then. So, I'll ask another question. What have you learned from your move that you could have done differently? I would say visit several times before the move. Now, let's keep in mind when I moved to Ghana, I had never been to Ghana. And not just Ghana, but I have been out of Africa for 18 and a half years. I have visited Liberia in January of last year for the first time in 18 years. And that was for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. When I went back to the US, but we were already planning our move. So we didn't go back to the US and then decide to move. No, we were already planning our move and we had that deadline. But we wanted to go and visit, like we had planned that vacation. But that was not enough time for me. That's what I realized. So then the next time I was back on the continent was when I actually moved. So there was a lot of things that I didn't know about, that I didn't expect. I mean, people would say, oh, lower your expectation, but you just don't know what you're going to meet, you know? You might have to lower even more. And I think that's kind of what happened to me. So I would say I would have to change that. I would have been visiting a while back so that I'm comfortable with the culture and all of that and get reintroduced to the things that I used to know as a kid and stuff like that. And I think that was the hardest part for me, or has been the hardest part for me, that mental reconditioning back to the continent. But it's getting better. I'm falling in love with it so much more. And I'm looking forward to what this is going to be. So, I mean, it's possible to come without visiting, but just be ready that you will have some cultural shock and you will have a hard time like transitioning mentally. Somebody asked, is renting more expensive in Ghana or in Liberia? Now, that's a question that you have to really be analytical and critical when you're trying to say which one is which, because there are factors that affect whether it is expensive or not. Now, for example, houses in Ghana. Now, it's a really tricky question because let's start from Liberia. Houses in Liberia, now, I feel like the high-end houses are not many. So hey, those of you who are doing like income rental properties, please make it high-end and stop doing the low-end ones, because there are a lot of those ones there already. So there are not a lot of high-end apartments or houses. And maybe that's because majority of the population can afford that. So people are not building that. They're building what people can afford. Now, the few that are there that are high end, they're super expensive. They're super expensive. They have middle ground, like middle quality houses that are affordable, like $300. You can get a $300 place. Now, keep in mind that almost always you have to do some kind of work on the house. It's not going to be up to what you want. And the lower in the cost you go, the more work you would have to do to be comfortable, especially from abroad. But if you're just looking at overall price, Liberia would be cheaper when it comes to renting. However, you would still have to spend money to get it up to what it's supposed to be. Let me give you an example. The houses in Liberia don't come with air conditioning. You rent an empty house. It doesn't come with stove or those things. So when you move in, you have to put all of those things in place. More than likely, it won't even be painted for you. You have to paint. Like the wear and tear on it would be a lot that you have to fix. Whereas when in Ghana, when you're renting, there are air conditioning already installed and all of that. So the cost, that upfront cost that you're supposed to come up with to fix the place, is move-in ready for you. There are apartments where you may not have like the refrigerator and the stove, but there are a lot more that you would find with the refrigerator and the stove, or with the stove and no refrigerator, things like that. So though Ghana houses are a little on the higher end, they're move-in ready compared to Liberia houses that are on the lower end, but you have to do some work. Now, if you're okay with not doing any work and just winging it, then you will find affordable places there. I hope that answered your question. Someone asked, do you feel at home in Ghana? Well, I'm conscious that Liberia is my home, so I know that. And sometimes there are days where you feel you miss home and you want to go home, but you also are aware that this is where you are. You have to make it home. If you don't make it home, you're gonna be miserable. It's like asking me when I was in the US, do you feel at home in the US? And we make the US home, don't we? We make the US home, we make the UK home, even though we know our home is Ghana or Liberia or Sierra Leone, but we make the US home. So asking me if I feel at home in Ghana is like asking me if I felt at home in Liberia. Now, even if I feel at home here in Ghana for now, there will come a time where I would have that urge to go back home, like I had the urge in the US to come back to the continent, to come back to Liberia. So I would say for the time being, I'm trying to make it home. Mentally, I don't know if I have accepted it, because like Kiki mentioned in the other video, the language barrier, you still feel like an outsider, you don't feel like you're within. So you would be aware that you're not home. So I'm aware that I'm not home most of the time, but I'm saying to myself, how can I make it more comfortable for me, until I can go home. And I think that was a question that I even asked myself in the US. How can I make life here work until I'm ready to go back home? And I think that's what a lot of you are doing in the States. You're making life happen in the US until it is time to go back home. So that's the same for me here. Let's see. Do you regret relocating? Do I regret relocating? Absolutely not. I do not. Have I ever thought about it? No. No. So it's one of those decisions you're never going to regret. You might regret not planning the way you're supposed to, but I don't think you would regret coming home. You Even with all my mental tension, all the things that I've talked about that I've been through with the transition and all of that, I don't regret coming home. I love it. I love it. And I can't wait to like go to Liberia. I really miss Liberia. I say it all the time. And every time I say it, my friend will ask me, are you are you ready? I think I'm ready. Okay. So I don't regret relocating. Do you have a business in Ghana or Liberia? I do not have a business in Ghana yet. I am working to have one. I had a business in Liberia. I had to shut it down because of the overhead cost, and the economy got really bad, and I was spending more than I was making. And then COVID hit, shipping and stuff just wasn't working, logistics, and it just became way more expensive, and customers could not purchase at the rate that I had to sell. So I had to close it. And then I kept paying the rent and all the stuff, and I wasn't getting the money. So it's like taking money out of your home budget all the time to take care of the business. So I had to shut it down for a time being. So what else? Will you ever live in the US again? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm open, you know? You can never, like, you can have a plan, but you just don't know what's ahead of you. Liberia had Ebola, and people were forced to go back to the US. There's COVID, and people, so you just never know what might happen. There could be war, God forbid, or like diseases and stuff that might force people back to the US. You just don't know. So, I don't know. But for now, it is not on my mind. Let's see here. Will you give Liberia a try again? Absolutely. I'm actually working on going back a visit very soon. I'm gonna announce that very soon, and I think it's gonna be a little bit more better than the last trip. Why I think it's gonna be a little bit more better is that I've been here in Ghana long enough. There are things that I've seen in Ghana that I go, oh, it's not just unique to Liberia, it's the Africa thing, you know. So it gives me a different perspective. It has helped me to ease into the Africa way of living and stuff like that. That I won't let to stress me out like the way I allow it to stress me out before. That's what's gonna make it better. So the last question on here is, are there business opportunities in Ghana? How is it different from Liberia? Yeah, absolutely. There are business opportunities here in Ghana. Ghana population is a lot more than Liberia's population. It's bigger. They have regions and populated regions. It's not like centralized. It's populated regions. So there are things happening everywhere. There are a lot of people from the diaspora that have come back with business ideas. So something that you think of might already be happening here, but then the market is here. So even if it's in this area, you could put yours in a different area and you will still make money. So, yes, there are business opportunities here in Ghana. How is it different from Liberia? One thing is the population. Ghana has more population than Liberia, so there are more people buying power. Another thing is Ghana has more middle class people. So there are people who can spend, like everyday spender. Those are the people that keep the economy going. They in Liberia, middle class is not. We have like people who have money, and we have people that don't have money. We have very few that's in the middle, you know. So spending power is not as high as Ghana. So because of that, businesses, whatever business you open, it has a market compared to Liberia. In Liberia, you have to be super specific because of the economy and because majority of the population may not have to spend for the business that you're doing or may not prioritize it. You have to go into a business that is important to the people, so that regardless of the economy, is something that they would purchase, like food. People can't go without food. Like right now, the economy is so bad that there are certain things if you did, you won't make money because no one wants to take their money and spend on that if they have to eat. So with Liberia, it restricts you because you have to do what the people want, what they can afford. But in Ghana, your options are open because there are a lot more people that spend money and can afford. I hope that answered that question. That's the difference between Liberia and Ghana when it comes to businesses. So those are all the questions that I have listed here. I hope this video was helpful. If there are any other thing that you're thinking of that I did not talk about, shoot me a message or comment on this video. Let's have an open discussion and an open mind. One thing I want to say is I want to send a shout out to all of my subscribers that have been here from day one. I just started my YouTubing journey last year when I visited Liberia in January. And the moment I put the first video, there have been people that subscribe and they've been with the journey the entire time. There have been people that have been rooting for me and encouraging me, especially when I feel so drained and bombarded. Those little, you can do it, give it a try again, like, yeah, it's hard, but do it this way. And like, I have a lot of people that give me tips on what to do. Whether in Ghana, like when I was looking for places and stuff, they would give me tips. When I was looking for shippers, people would come and give me tips. Use this, call this number, do this. You are the people that make the transition happen, the move happen. Without you, we will be stranded. So I really appreciate you. For the naysayers, what I have to say to you is you need to change your attitudes. It takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot to be able to leave comfort in what you've been used to come back and start from scratch. So the least you can do, even if someone is having a terrible time, is not to wish them bad, but to encourage them and tell them that everything will be okay and find actual solutions to give them, to help them. Even if it sounds like they're criticizing or they're being mean, or like, help make it a better experience instead of saying you're weak or you don't like your country or you don't. People like that, I've already made up my mind to not even pay you any mind. You either get deleted, like your comment will get deleted because I'm trying to protect my mental space. I encourage like openness and good critiques. Share your ideas. It's okay to not agree with me on certain situations, but be responsible and respectful about it. If you're disrespectful, you're gone. Like, I've never blocked anyone on my channel, but I might go into doing that, or maybe just delete your comment. But overall, I've gotten a lot of love, and people are here. They're still on this journey with me. I hope you're learning from my experience and some of the things that I come and I talk about in your own planning process. If I sound too critical, whether on Liberia or on Ghana, it's not to bash the country. It's to give insight, like real life insight. And I think what you could do with it is pay attention and say, if Marian could go through that, what are some of the things that she didn't do that made it happen that way? What could I do in return? How could I make it better for my own term when it's time for me to move. You can learn from my situation instead of like bashing me. So thank you all for being here. Now I'm gonna find something to eat. If you have not subscribed, hey, subscribe, join a tribe, and I will catch you in another video. There are lots more coming your way, updates for you guys. I will be able to move around a lot more going forward after like next month. So you want to stick around. Thank you. Bye bye.